Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Adam Lane with Leading Lane, and this is podcast number 4 featuring Dr. Burton with a focus on passion and purpose. So again, welcome back to the Leading Lane podcast. Hey, before we dive in and get to know Dr. Burton, I just want to share why I have him on here. I met him in a book study sponsored and supported by the Florida Association of School Administrators. I loved his content in his book. I felt a connection the more I talked to him. We shared texts and messages and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all that. So he's just a great guy. And at the end of this 15 minutes, I want to make sure you have a chance to know him and reach out to him if you ever have a connection. So Dr. Burton, what do you do? Who are you? What's your passion? And take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Let me say that I am equally as happy to have known you, to have met you, and to get to know you. My life has been enriched and blessed because of that. I'm the CEO of Passion-Driven Leadership. And when I retired as a principal, of course, I really retired, just stopped working as a principal, about 3 or 4 years ago. I started this company because as a principal, my leadership style was transformational. And I wanted to, which means I was growing the folk around me. A lot of the people who were teachers at my school are not principals themselves, or work in central office, or work in the State Department, or have their own companies. I believe in growing people. And so I want to continue to do that when I retire, and I've done that. So I started by just growing principals. However, this last year, most of my work has been around giving teachers and administrators the structures and strategies to manage and or cope with stress. You know, we are frontline workers that have not been recognized as frontline workers. And the truth is, people in our profession are still dying on the job every day. And most of us deal with not just acute stress, but chronic stress. And because we show up every day with smiles on our faces, the public thinks we're doing good, but actually we're doing very, very poorly inside emotionally. So a lot of the work I've been doing for this last year has been around doing just that. It's been a very, very rewarding work, and it's been very, very busy work too.
Well, I appreciate you, and your work has touched me, and the foundation on our connection is your book right here, and I highly recommend it. More Than a Notion, A Journey in Educational Leadership in the Age Accountability. And I just have 3 questions I want to touch base on here that touched me. Is in chapter 2, Finding and Refining Effective Leadership. I love how you talk about finding your purpose and your passion. When you speak with people, how do you get them to find their purpose and their passion, to know what they're really in this for?
That's a great question. You know, my journey was, I grew into the passion to lead. When I first became a principal, I had the position, but my passion was music. I was a minister of music at 2 different churches, and I was a pretty good principal, but my passion was really playing and directing and singing, all that kind of good stuff. As my school grew, and as I grew as a leader, my purpose changed. And I went from having the position to, which was kind of a autocratic type of leader, to being a transactional leader, to being a purpose-driven or people development kind of person, and transformational. The step after transformation, in my opinion, is passion-driven. That simply means that is something you would do, even if you have to do it for free. That's when it's not just what you do, it becomes who you are. Leading becomes who you are, not just what you do, it becomes who you are. You wake up thinking about it, and it oozes through your veins, so much so that when people come in contact with you, they know something's different. They may not know what it is, but they know something's different about you, and they seek your advice. Everywhere you go, people want advice from you because they sense that their leadership in you, and they want to know what it is. And that's where passion takes place, because it's you walk it, you talk it, you become the brand for it. It becomes your message. It becomes your whole way of life. And it's easy for you because it's not a strange thing. It's part of your DNA.
Amen. And I'm with you. And I knew my passion and my purpose was to be a teacher because of the awesome teachers and administrators I had in my life in middle school and high school. They helped me define my purpose and my passion at an early age. And it's so nice when you're on track and they line up. You talk about the branding process. You are the brand. What do you mean about that? You are the brand.
That means you are the face, the sound, the shape, the message for wherever you are, the message for the school, if you're the superintendent for the school district. You are it. You are the model. When they see you, whatever high school you at, instead of calling your name, they should be referring to you as probably that school. That's how synonymous your brand should be with where you work. And the good part about that is, and we get branded whether we know it or not. As leaders, when they see if the school is doing bad, when they see us, they think the same thing. However, we can change as brands. We can change the message and the public's perception of where we work in by our image, by how we talk, by who we talk to, and by the message that we give. And that's why I mentioned message and brand is not just our look, but it's what we're saying to our publics. We're giving them hope. We're giving them encouragement. We're letting them know that this is a place, it's not just a safe place, but it's a place where children can increase life chances so they can be productive citizens.
And this is great stuff. And for the audience, I'm going right out of your book. So when I refer to chapters, I'm going to go to chapter 6. And this is my last question out of the book, the balancing act. And what I love is in the section, which is probably my favorite, bitter to better. Because we've all been there over and over and over. But you say, I trusted God by allowing him to open and close doors in my life. I trusted him even when I couldn't trace him. So Dr. Burton, Reverend Burton, let me hear it. Where are you coming from?
I almost called you Doc. Brother Lane, I wrote that from my own life. I was in a dark spot. I was in a dark place. I was burnt out. I was coming to school every day, smiling, going through the motions, but I was dead on the inside. Lost my wife, had a kid on drugs, another kid dropped out of school. My personal life was in a shambles because I was a shell of who I was supposed to be. I applied for several jobs I thought I wanted, didn't get it. So I became very, very bitter. And one day I woke up, and it wasn't of my own volition. And I realized that I couldn't be the best for my children if I were not taking care of me. And that's when I started to take care of my emotional self. When I did that, the light bulb went off. And it was a process for me to let go of the anger that I was holding and to trust God, because I wasn't feeling like doing it. I wanted to hang on to all of those, all that resentment and all that anger and all that angst. I wanted to hang on to it because it was fuel for what I was doing every day. But when I finally let go and became vulnerable to the process of growth, then my life changed. And by that, I mean, I started to take care of myself mentally and emotionally. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the work that I'm doing now, there's been principals and teachers have the strategies and structures to manage and cope with stress. And I speak to them from where I have been. I was in a dark spot, but now I can teach about it. And I hate to say this, but business is good because our profession is full of people who are hurting, who are stressed, and not just stress. There are 4 kinds of stress: acute stress, distress, acute stress, and chronic stress. Acute stress is fight or flight. Chronic stress is when acute stress happens over and over and over again. Chronic stress is when the blood pressure goes up and stays up. That's when you get diabetes and it stays there. That's when all those things, those health problems sink in. That's when you are out of balance. Instead of having a good, healthy balance of a vice and a virtue, when you're out of balance, that means you're doing vices all the time. You're having a gummy before you come to work, you're taking a gummy at work, taking a gummy after work, or you're getting a shot of Hennessy before work, a shot during work, and a shot after work. But when you have balance, and you're self-aware, and you're socially aware, and you know who you are, and you know whose you are, then you can walk in confidence and you can grow the folk around you. That's what growth for me really started. That's what change for me really started. And that's where this business really came from. I went from a pit to a place of just a prime opportunity for growth.
And that's awesome stuff. Such good words of wisdom. That's why this book and you really resonated and connected with me, is when you start with what is your passion, what is your purpose in life, what are you here for? And then you end with bitter to better. We've all applied for positions, felt they should have been ours, and we didn't get them. And you do feel better. You can't not resist feeling a sense of bitter. But how do you turn that into become better to get back to your passion and your purpose? And that's why your book touched me. And then when we met and we started talking, we felt a connection. You wear your heart on a sleeve. You don't mind sharing experiences to make people better. And there hasn't been a holiday or an event that you and I haven't connected and reached out to each other as if we went to high school together. So awesome stuff. I appreciate it. And Dr. Burton, this is where we go from leadership to the lead guitar. Are you ready?
Yes,
I want to dive into some music.
Yes,
so what is your go-to music? Even maybe a go-to band? And do you have that one song, just that song, if you could play it on an island over and over and that was it? Talk to me about your music side.
Actually, I have a degree in instrumental and vocal music education. So I like all genres. The genre that I gravitate to the most probably is a mixture of gospel and jazz. My favorite go-to song is probably by George Duke, and it's called Own It. And George, and my other favorite group is Earth, Wind and Fire. And the song is called Burning Bush. Those songs are just resonate with me. And Lane, I tell you, when I was in my worst days of school, in my bitter days, my teachers would know, because I would go in the auditorium, I would get on the piano, and I would play until I felt better. So it became therapy for me, because it was a place where I could get lost, and it would also make me feel better, and also help everybody at school, because when I was in the auditorium playing, everybody heard it, because the auditorium was right in the middle of the school. So it wasn't every day, but it was therapy for me, and it became therapy for them. I wouldn't try to, but I'd find myself walking down the hall singing hymns, because it was therapy for me, and it kind of soothed them. But those, if you were to get in my car right now, it'd be on jazz, just easy listening jazz, because it calms me down. I try not to listen. I don't do stuff with words a whole lot unless I'm in a good space already. But when I just need to calm down, it's just strictly jazz. But in terms of straight music, you really can't miss me with anything. I love to listen at the Gaither's Gospel Hour, just good old Southern stuff. Southern quartets. The male band, the vocal male band. Take Six. You can't miss me with any of it. Adagio and Strings by Samuel Barber. That's one of my favorite nighttime pieces. So I'm pretty well-rounded.
Okay, I like that well-roundedness. Now, I did hear some Earth, Wind, and Fire in there. And I tell you what, I'm gonna send you an Earth, Wind, and Fire song. One song per day the rest of the week, and I want you to crank it up, because I'll be cranking it up in Florida. Hey, my last question for you. What's the last concert you went to? A live concert, or is there just one you remember from anywhere in your childhood growing up that you were like, that was it?
I would go back to Earth, Wind, and Fire. In our city, there was a series. They had the Commodores came first, Parliament Funkadelic came second, Earth, Wind, and Fire came third. By far, Earth, Wind, and Fire had, because they were musically so attuned. They played well, they performed well, and the music sounded the same way in person as it did on the album. Now, the other groups, I couldn't say that. But you know as well as I do, sometimes when you perform live, it's just not the same kind of sound. But the sound was the exact same way. The stage presence, the show was just really, really good. I was blown away, and that's an indelible memory that I still have, and that was in high school. That was in 1978 to be exact.
Music takes you back. And those
Yes, it does,
concerts
sir.
that you attend, you can share every detail. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I thank you for joining me. I want to make sure everyone out there knows how to get a hold of you, and we'll stream it so they know. But what's the best way to get a hold of Dr. Burton? Whether you want to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire, or Passion, or Bitter and Better, how do we get a hold of you?
Sure, you can email me at tburton@passiondrivenleadership.org or www.passiondrivenleadership.org. Either one of those will get directly to me. I'm excited about the work that I've been allowed to have the opportunity to do, which is helping teachers and principals, given the strategies and structures to manage and or cope with stress. Our profession is still on the front line every day doing a fantastic job, but we're hurting and we need help.
Well, Dr. Burton, I thank you for joining me. I thank everyone for tuning in to join us. Again, I'm Adam Lane. This is Leading Lane, the Leading Lane podcast number 4, featuring the Dr. Burton with a focus on passion and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. Have a great day.